Chhaya Momaya. So let me
Hi.
start by introducing both Radhika and Chhaya. Radhika Talati is the founder of Anahata. Anahata is a baby, her idea, not something that she impulsively decided to
If you
do.
look at what our
It,
parents
it is a
traditionally did,
it,
they worked secure hours, they worked secure jobs, whether it was government
Jarvis, I
jobs,
think there's
public sector,
something
or private
that
jobs.
needs to be muted. Yeah. Anatha is a baby, her idea, not something that she impulsively decided to do. It is a way of life that she genuinely practices and has been associated with for the past 12 years. She has been visiting the Himalayas every year for about 11 years, except this year. I mean, it's still pending, including a stay there for 4 months. She dreamed of bringing this knowledge to urban centers, to cities, to people who don't have access to nature in day to day life. That's why she personally makes all the recipes and finalizes the sources for the ingredients. Along with her core team, with her and her core team, they manage both internal and external functioning. Two of them have committed their time, money, and most importantly, intellect to Anahata to ensure the brand reaches greater heights. Two more core team members are from her yoga foundation. In her production team, that is the backbone of a company, they have locals hailing from mediocre to low income families from nearby villages of Vadodara and across Gujarat. They don't believe in using too much machinery, and a lot of her products are hand distilled and hand crushed. Even vendors are small scale organic farmers from across India, local artists who hand paint their boxes and hampers, and other startups looking to collaborate and build a community. Besides being an entrepreneur, she's a yogini, mountaineer, model, and a mother to three kids. She was a finalist in the Glad Rags Miss India 2003. But after a life-changing tries with cancer, Radhika launched Ra Yoga Studios. She runs three successful businesses and has scaled Mount Kilimanjaro and has also completed the Panch Kalasha mountains in the Himalayas. She has gone biking from Manali to Leh. Welcome, Radhika, and we'll let me
So
introduce
much.
Chhaya. Let me introduce Chhaya Momaya, who is a life coach, grooming, and image consultant. Hailing from a highly respected and prominent family, the Vaishyanji Kimji of the shipping yards and rice mills in Burma, Chhaya Momaya is a metaphor for sophistication, timeless style, and luxury enterprise. India's most admired life coach has morphed personalities and careers of prominent industrialists, politicians, housewives, investment bankers, and youngsters over the years. The couture wearing, jet setting stylista is the tallest figure to reckon with in Mumbai's caviar circles. She is a self made and self taught professional whose name spells elegance and refinement. Her soirees hosting skills are legendary. One can easily picture tasteful decor, personalized food presentation, and stunning realized arranged flower arrangement at Chaya's Luke's Lit launch soirees. Besides an enviable portfolio of luxury brands that she has to accredit, her great connections with the toffee-nosed caviar set make her quite the talk of the town. The most photographed glamazon knows the art of entertaining and believes that a good fine dining experience can connect you to a lot of people and bring a lot of business to your table, provided you know how to do it well. No wonder individuals from different walks of life and luxury brands reach out to her for her expertise. In a high voltage career, which so many starry eyed youngsters only dream of, she's underscored the understanding of the corporate language and dressing appropriately. Chhaya Momaya is a life coach, grooming, and image consultant. Personally, whenever I've seen Chhaya at the soirees, it's always like, she's ready to walk the ramp. Anyway, let me now introduce myself. I am Dominic CostaBir and Director of Hospitality Training Institute, and we've recently launched an app, Colaborate. So, Collaborate is a platform on which we aim to connect professionals who would like to freelance, known as gig workers or giggers, to companies who would like to hire them. Now, this segment has recently opened up in India, especially with your Uber drivers, your Ola cabs, your Zomato and Swiggy riders. But we want to take it to the next level, where you can have consultants, higher end consultants, where you could engage with them on a hourly or a task-based project. For example, quality analysts, image consultants, accountants, maybe even a person to coach your team. These sort of portfolio is what we would like to explore besides the bottom of pyramid. And Collaborate is the app for that. So Co is company and owners, La is liberated associates, the freelancers, Bo is bidding and offers where both the company and the liberated associate could negotiate via the app. And rating, of course, is the standard rating that both company and associates would give to each other. We've started this Collaborate Talk Show mainly to, we found that a lot of people were averse to being gig workers or freelancers. And we started reaching out to professionals who have built their careers, by being out there, taking risks, reaching out to people, becoming a brand of their own. And sorry, there was a call coming in, becoming a brand on their own. And generally speaking, creating themselves into enterprises, which is far better than I would think working in an organization. And that's why we keep getting these, motivational and inspirational people on the show. So with me today, like I've already told you, is Radhika and Chhaya Momaya. And my first question I'd like to throw to Chhaya, taking off from what I said about being a brand. Chhaya, you have built yourself up as a brand and helped others too. Give us some quick synopsis of what you feel are the top 3 pointers in brand building.
First of all, I think it's very important to understand what people are looking for. And it's a certain kind of an image that you want to build for yourself, for the world to see you. So it's very important you introspect yourself, decide where you want to go and how you want to be portrayed and how you want to be addressed. So work on yourself first. That's the first pointer. Second, I would say your language skill. Very, very important because language can take you forever. And of course, the third is the way you carry yourself. Because when you make an entry, people don't know what you are like, but what people see of you. So it's very important. I'm not saying that you need to wear brands and jewelry and all that, but the way you carry yourself as a person, as a persona that you want to portray. So these 3 things are the most important in image building.
Okay. I'll come back to you, Chhaya. That was really fast
Sure.
and to the point. We'll come to Radhika. Radhika, you have 3 kids, plus managing a couple of enterprises on your own and juggling your me time, because I know you've gone biking, for instance. Would you recommend other women also push the envelope and the glass ceiling at the same time? Don't you think it could lead to burnout at some point?
Well, first of all, namaste, hello to everyone, and thank you for this amazing introduction. And it's great to see Chhaya. You look gorgeous, and so good to know all the things that you've been doing. Coming to your question, when I, never thought what others would do. I only did what I thought I wanted to do. First of all, when I did what I did. Now that many people seek me out and ask me and tell me whether women should do what you did, I feel women should do what they want. It necessarily does not mean that they need to bike or climb mountains. They can absolutely do what they are good at, what they feel confident about, without having to burn themselves out. So because I talk a lot about Vedic philosophy and Indic philosophy, there is something called balance. So if you're able to balance everything, it is not a very difficult thing to do. The problem is that where is the clarity? If there is a clarity in exactly what you want to do, trust me, you will not burn yourself out. That's my simple answer to this question.
Lovely. So very interestingly, both of you gave me really crisp answers, and both of you pointed out where you want to go or what you want to do. So question to both of you, and you could take it in turns. How did you all discover what you want to do?
Radhika?
Okay, thank you again, Chhaya. I did not discover what I wanted to do. I just went along. I took each day as it came because I married at a very, very young age. I was 20 when I got married. And by the time I was 29, I had all my 3 children. So when I got married from an Orthodox Tamil family to an Orthodox Gujarati family, albeit that they were very wealthy, they were still very simple. Who believed in living at home, eating at home, very simplistic Gujarati Baniya family. So the first 10 years of my life, I did what a woman is supposed to do, produce. I produced 3 children. So I stayed home for the first 10 years. It was only after that, because I was almost in Miss India in 1993, and then I decided to kind of get married. So, you are married into a wealthy family, and then you're becoming plump and robust and the pink of your health, And then one day my husband just said that, don't you think you need to, reduce, be who you were? And then I took that, I took that as a hint and started working out. So there was a journey. When that happened, after 2002, after my son was born, he was born in March. September, I started working out. I was 78 kilos at that point in time. By the time it was July of the next year, 2003, I had lost more than 29 kilos. And I applied for Gladrax Mrs. India, and then I participated in it. Though that was more for my own self. It was really not to prove anything to anybody. That journey, that purpose gave me a reason to get up and work. And then, one thing will lead to another. We're all very accomplished. We know exactly how this route goes. And so when you start working on yourself, there is a path that opens up for you. And that is the path that I just followed.
Nice. I want to come to the orthodox part, but let's get Chhaya in on this. Chhaya, how did you discover what you wanted to do?
So, being coming out of college and coming from a very banya family, I always wanted to bring my own things on the table because my father was an industrialist. And as a conservative Kutchi banya, he didn't want the women to go out and work. So I had to start something of my own back at home. So we started with this Ayurvedic powder with my mom and I said, okay, let me do it. So by the time I was 16, I had 600 or 700 clients with me, using my beauty powder, Ayurvedic powder, which was made at home. And then I came across, and I'm not making the story very long, but I'm going to give it to you in a more crispier tone. So, yeah. So I had this lady, and my one forte was, if you want to use my product, I have to meet you. I cannot just give it to you because if you have some other issues, you'll blame me for the product. So I had to meet the lady, and one of the ladies who came to meet me and said, I love the way you're so groomed at 16. You talk, you speak so well, you carry yourself very well, and coming from a Kutchi background, we are not very well known for our lavish lifestyle, but maybe here it was a little different because I came from Burma and I had a lot of diplomats around us while I was growing up. So she offered me in fact, she encouraged me to groom her daughter. And being a businesswoman, I said, okay, I'll charge you. You think, of course, I charged her. I charged her in about 1980 or 81. I charged her 350 rupees. And I was so thrilled about it because my Ayurvedic powder costed 7 rupees a pack. And this was 350. It was quite a jump. Okay. Whoa. And then, of course, I got many women, many girls. She brought in about 15, 16 girls. And then I've never looked back. And then because of my travel, whenever I travel, I just don't travel. I always pick up a course, like whether it's cooking, chocolate making, perfume making. I always pick up, so I understand the intricate luxury of what they do. So while I was doing that, I even happened to go to Montreux for a little treatment in La Prairie. And I loved the product and I started using it. Nobody had ever heard of paying in India in about 97. Nobody ever heard that you could pay a lakh of rupees for a jar of cream. But me being mean and my husband's indulgence, I started using the product and I saw the results. In the meanwhile, that La Prairie was ready to come to India. They pinned me down because of the connect that I used to buy. There were about 4 to 5 people buying in India the product. So I said, I'd love to launch it. And that was my first assignment. And they loved it because they copied the same style back in New York, how to do it. Earlier, their mindset was to launch La Prairie in a nightclub with all the models. But I said, see, you have to launch it with women who can afford it and not in a nightclub, because creams are all about making you feel tauter, younger, fresher, and everything. So a nightclub is the last place where you should be launching it. So I launched it at the Princess Room at the Taj by the sea, because these ingredients have diamonds and pearls, mother of pearl and all that in it. So I said it has to connect. So I had about 26 women over for lunch who are well traveled, who knew what it is to look after your personal skin and hair, and that's how I launched it. Then I've never looked back, Dominic. So
interestingly, both of you all are from Orthodox families.
Yep.
And both of you all then, after marriage, got into business. So was it the husbands that encouraged you all, or can I give a lot of credit to the husbands, or am I, how would I say, giving them too much credit?
No, only to the husband, at least for me. If without my husband, I don't think I would have been able to move even a centimeter, forget an inch. He is very liberated in his mind as of pushing the women because that's what he has seen back at home. His mother worked, his grandmother worked, and they all were we come from a conservative family, but we all love, I mean, they loved working and they encouraged me saying, we have enough staff back at home to look after the home. Why do you want to stay at home? You need to go out there, make a name for yourself. And the best part is my husband's so confident of me that he's always, even when people say you're Chhaya Momaya's husband, he is more than happy, though he runs a huge company himself. He's never come up in the front, Dominic, like I mentioned to you. He's got, but he's always pushed me in the front. And that brought a lot of confidence in me.
Sorry. What about you, Radhika?
Well, for me, I was married into a very well-off family, but in my family, no women ever worked. So everybody, because I was also at home and I learned all the skills of homekeeping and homemaking 10 years. Since I came from a Tamil family, from a Brahmin family, and I was the only girl to actually get married into out of caste. So my parents, my grandparents, they were high-end priests. So no girl from those families ever married outside that particular caste. You forget the caste, and went and married a Baniya from Gujarat. Nobody. So that was quite good. Yeah. So when I came married here, I was not really very encouraged to work because women in my family never worked. They believed in fact, my grandmother-in-law, I learned a lot from her. She was only a 4th standard pass, but I learned how to manage people when I stayed home. So the first 10 years, I learned everything. So I am a very proud Gujarati housewife, if you ask me. I can cook all Gujarati meals. I know to make pickles. I know to make papads. So I had the training the first 10 years. But then, of course, it's like, when you are good and when you have the spark, you could be from Paris or you could be from Timbuktu, you will find your light, and you will find your path. So not necessarily that if you have the encouragement or you don't have the encouragement. I have seen in my journey that people who have that spark in them, somewhere or the other, they find people and they move on. So in my family, even though my husband never kind of stopped me from doing what I wanted to, as long as everything was set at home. So I lived in a very conservative Gujarati family. I am the one who put up a system in my house. Before me, there were no maids. They were just there to do the other work. The kitchen work was always done by the women. And that's how it was for years after I came in, very slowly. And I didn't do it immediately, Dominic. I waited 10 whole years, set systems in place. And so even if I was busy, because I started out as a wedding decorator. So even if I was busy in these 3-4 months of crazy weddings and insane weddings, I'd never be home, the system was in place. So my husband's pajamas were in his place, the breakfast in his place, the dinner was in place. So everything was in place. So I never tried to rebel against the system because I'd already rebelled against my family and married into this family. So I had to follow the rules. And now, in retrospect, even at that time, it was a little bit of a struggle. But now when I look back, I think those are some very important life lessons. And that's what has led me to be where I am right now.
Yeah, but it's so true. Like even if I'm traveling or if I've got a very important client, I still know how many tomatoes or how much coriander is there in my fridge. Yes. Because I'm completely organized with everything because I have an extra OCD about myself. So everything has to be in place. My husband should never say, where is this?
Yeah.
Because everything is kept in the place. Even in the middle of the night at 12, you ask me a pair of black color scissors, I'll tell you it is pointing towards the east and it is kept over there. They dare not move it. So, so a woman can do multiple things which a man can't do. I have to tell you that. I still know, maybe I don't cook, but they still know how we like our food at home. They still know where the strings of the pajamas are kept if they need anything extra. They know everything because it's like Radhika very rightly said, if you put a system in place, I've stuck post-it everywhere, so they all know. And if a person can't read, there's a drawing over there, so they know exactly what is where. So if you do that, I think life becomes much more easier.
Okay, so when you say that you are handling the business or etc., uh, uh, do you at any time feel that, listen, I missed out on, let's say, my child's first step or my daughter's party or something? I mean, I'm sure you'll have missed out on some occasions. So how do you fill up that void, or how do you convince yourself that it's worth it?
Honestly, I personally balanced it really well. I mean, I was there for my son. Even if he dropped a tear, I was there to wipe it, fortunately. Because I lost my brother at a very young age. So I'm very committed to the family. So if there's like a large, very important dinner outside the house, and if my son wants me to stay back, I will leave the dinner, because for me, my son, my husband, my family is far more important than going out there. So even if it means I'm going to lose out on a very big business project, honestly, I don't care. For me, family is always there. But fortunately, it's never happened so. So I've always been around. I've always looked after the family. And yet I've been able to manage the VVIP clients who I attend to. Because the tantrums, Dominic, we all know the tantrums, or the kind of,
Pressure.
the way,
I
the
mean,
pressure, the pressure which comes in. But I've been able to handle it well. Thank you
what
for
about
the
you, Radhika?
sensibility.
I think me and Chhaya share one common thing. When I lost my brother at a very young age, so
Oh, okay.
me and my brother were also extremely close, and I lost him. And the thing is that he fell into a whirlpool, and we never found him. So we were left in suspense for almost till 10 years, and then we accepted that maybe now he's not going to come back. So till 10 years, it was very difficult for me to handle my mom. I always wanted a large family. In fact, one of the first conditions of my getting married was I wanted to have at least 4 to 5 children. So I knew I
Ouch.
always wanted to have more children. So I had 2 kids. I think I'm very fortunate as far as my kids are concerned, because I think I'm sure Chhaya would agree here, is that we've been very open in terms of communication. So the kids know what you're doing. They know where you're going. They know what your journey is. So once they know what you're doing, in its complete honesty, because your intentions are also very honest and honorable, the family will support you. My children are my biggest support. In fact, now I can't do this Zoom meeting if my daughter isn't there. So I have a team and they work with me. So they are my team. So I have been able to balance exactly like how Chhaya said. I've been able to balance. And I, like Chhaya, will leave everything for my children. I think that's every sensible mother would do the same thing. So I think that's exactly what I said in the earlier statement, that if you find your balance, if I was to give you a pen and paper and ask you to write 3 things that you want, believe me, Dominic, 99 out of 100 women will not know what to write, because the clarity isn't there. They really don't know. They're very confused on what they want and where they want to go. And in 1 minute, they're deciding something. The second minute, they are getting disheartened, because again, everything that you want will require a lot of sacrifice, a lot of hard work and discipline. So when you get all these factors integrated, I think you have a successful person, whether it's a man or a woman.
Okay, so I like that, and I also want to pick up on this word sacrifice.
Yes.
So you said there are sacrifices. So what would the sacrifices be? I'm sure you all have put in some sacrifices. You can't get to where you are without
for
that.
different people, it would be different things. Like for me, I've sacrificed social life completely. So I was trying to balance at that point in time. I don't socialize. It's been more than 3.5 years that I don't socialize at all. But before that, I was quite a party animal, and I did go out in a lot of places. But that time, both my daughters have studied in boarding school, so I had that time, and I had only my son with me, and then we kind of had our little bit of mandamni, and we let me go out today, and tomorrow I'll be with you. So my husband kind of love to socialize, and obviously every Indian woman would kind of go out. Not that I really enjoyed socializing ever, but I never thought about it too much. It was one of my duties, and then I kind of did what I had to do. So I had to sacrifice socializing and of course that disheartens a lot of people. It disheartens your family, it disheartens your husband, but then they eventually saw the result, and then they found out that, okay, that's the time, either I am home or I'm working, or I'm home and I'm going party. I couldn't do all of it together, because in my house, even today, after so many years, one meal I cook. So that's a tradition we've been following. And believe me, when you have a system in place, you have meals, you have communication, everything gets sorted out. The problem is most women, which I have realized it, and I'm sure Chhaya will agree to this, they're not ready to let go. They want to do everything on their own. If I do this, my son will be left out, or my daughter will be left out. My husband will not eat if I'm not there. Those are the things that women have, and it's their thing. That's how all women are. What I learned from my grandmother-in-law, to learn to delegate, learn to give work, and learn to open a channel of communication. When you're able to do that, then that sacrifice which you feel that you did is really not a big sacrifice. Now that in hindsight, I feel, okay, that's not even a sacrifice. I actually did exactly what I wanted to do. So I haven't sacrificed much. I've done exactly what I want, but I have been very blessed, I guess, because I've been able to balance everything and move along. Maybe a little slowly, but definitely move forward.
Chhaya, sacrifices?
I haven't at all, because fortunately, I've been able to do whatever I wanted. And also, see, Radhika had 3 kids. I have only one child, one son. So it was easier. And I've always believed in the children growing up with the grandparents, because they learn a lot of culture out of them. So that was one very good point. I had my in-laws and my parents who, with my child balanced between the two of them if I was traveling ever. And I don't even think even a day that I've had to sacrifice anything for anyone, because probably till now the need has not been there. And I don't know about the future, but right now, no, not at all. I've been
I'll
able
tell
to
you what
balance.
I'm getting from that. But before I tell you what I've got from that, audience, we will be taking a Q&A. You could pop your questions up in the box, or we will, when we go live with the Q&A, you could ask your questions directly to either Radhika or Chhaya. And what I'm taking from you and the two of you is, you're saying no sacrifice. I don't believe that. I believe you're making the sacrifices, but because there is a higher goal or a higher cause, you don't consider it a sacrifice.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Maybe
Yeah, because
I've not
it's
felt the vacuum.
Yeah, even
exactly,
I,
Yeah.
that's what
exactly.
I'm saying.
So that's what I'm taking from there, because I think that even I myself, sometimes we feel we are sacrificing this for that, and we play the victim card. But here you're telling me in a very matter of factly way. For example, Chhaya says, I know exactly where a scissors is. Radhika says, I cook one meal a day. To me, that sounds like you're putting yourself out there, you're getting things done, you're looking after your kids, and you're looking after your business. So that's a little interpretation I'm doing for the audience there also. Now, this one's for Radhika, especially. Radhika, you are into adventure, right? And I don't see too many women going out into adventure. Also, I don't see too many women who would, with 3 kids, still pursue adventure.
Crazy that way.
Because there's always this thought, agar kuch ho gaya to, and that doomsday prediction type of a thing that's hovering over your head. How do you manage that?
Uh, for me, I never looked at it in an adventurous way. For me, it was always about spirituality. And for me, that happened after 2009, after I went to the Himalayas for recuperation. And like I said, sometimes when you ask me, I never planned it that way. It just happened. I made my kids come with me, so they started enjoying it. So where is the question of leaving the kids behind? So I kind of made my tribe in my home. And then my husband is not the kind at all who climbed the mountain. I don't think he'll even climb stairs more than 4 floors. So he's very happy playing his tennis and badminton, and that's his poison, which is fair enough. So I discovered the Himalayas after I went for my treatment and went for my recuperation, and I fell in love. And that's it. And one day I just stood there and I said, I'm going to come back as much, at least for 18 years. And I'm just doing that, So it's almost now 12 years past, 6 more trips to the Himalayas. At least that's my commitment to the mountains. So slowly I started taking my children. So my children knew that between July and September, Mama is going to be pacing up and down the room because she has to go to the Himalayas. And that's exactly what happened. My children are part of my journey. And, they tell me this all the time, that they're very thankful that I introduced them to this. So then, because we were 4 against 1, and then my in-laws saw that they had gained so much. So then I got the permission eventually. Initially, first 2 to 3 times, it was a little difficult. So I never looked at it as an adventure. It just turned out to be an adventure, and my kids are a part of all my adventures.
Okay. And there's something contrasting out here is that you don't like the nightlife, whereas Chhaya lives the nightlife. I mean, that's a job, right? Getting people ready for the
We get
nightlife,
along.
presenting. So how do you look at that part of your life, Chhaya? I mean, is it I'm going to be very straight out here. Sometimes people find it very fake, right? And you are building that up, and I like the way you put it out there that if you know how to handle a meal, you know how to handle a party. It's going to lead to more business and more connections. So we could just elaborate that for us, Chhaya.
I didn't know what you meant by that. I get people ready for a party. I mean, what is that?
You do the image projection bit where you train people how to handle themselves at a party, how to hold their wine, maybe eat a meal.
So that's a etiquette and grooming wherever you are. Okay, so it's not particularly left for the night. It could be a business dinner. It could be anything. So it's not connected to night at all. In fact, I don't drink, and I don't like to dine out in a buffet or anything. So I don't drink and eat outside anywhere. So for me, nightlife is zilch. I'm not a club person ever. I never was, though we ran a fashion bistro, Dominic, as you know,
Yes.
one of the most
Yeah.
successful, but that was business. So that had nothing to do with us going and enjoying ourselves over there. Okay,
Okay.
and also because I appeared on page 3 very often, people thought I
Very
party,
often.
but it was not to do with a party. It was always a launch of a product, and normally the launches happen always past post 7 o'clock, and by the time people come in, it's always 9 o'clock. So it was always connected to work, never about socializing or party. So you would have never seen my pictures, like Andrea does Savvy. So none of my pictures are in a party place. It's always she's carried pictures where I have hosted a dinner or I've launched a product, but nothing to do
Okay.
with somebody else's party. So I was never a night bird, nor do I like going out in the night. I'm more happy meeting close friends for dinner where intelligent conversations take place. So I'm always ready to meet somebody who's got something to offer. So even when you tell me, Dominic, I would like to invite you for dinner, but you may not know anyone, I would jump to that dinner because I've got a thirst to know people. But the time you say that I'm invited the same crowd you already know, I may just back out because I already know them. So there's nothing else to talk about. So I'm a little more of a person where I've got a huge thirst for learning. So I'm always learning, connecting. And when it comes to grooming my clients, is more about making them global than grooming them for a particular dinner or for the party or for the night. That has never been my focus. My focus
It's
has
more a
been,
holistic approach.
yeah, because see, most of my clients have international business like we do. So we always have to meet somebody from Italy or somebody from France. So we need to know the etiquette, how appropriate is a behavior and how you can entice somebody. Like a German comes and says namaste to you over here, you will be more than, you'll absorb that person easily. The same way when you know how the French behave and you know that you have to go out there and how do you behave, how do you pick up your wine, how do you taste your wine, that changes everything for them. They get absorbed easily.
Okay, so now I don't know if this, thanks Shaya for that. And I don't know if this will resonate with you all, but see, a lot of our audience today, and even those who will probably watch it on YouTube or LinkedIn later on, may not have the blessed background in terms of the, if I may use the word loosely, moneyed background, right? So if I were to launch myself as a brand, um, I have the constraints of, let's say, my network is not so strong, my money connections are not so strong, but I have a drive, I have the passion. How could I go about it? I mean, in a small way, just launch myself as a for whatever it is I like.
So, like I told you about Ayurvedic. My mother was very good with Ayurvedic ingredients, extremely good. So we worked on it. So I always advise people, if you have a skill, any kind of skill, start honing it. Only with experience and learning deeper into it will you be able to reach a certain stage where you can present yourself to the world. It's not always being a big presentation. It could be small, it could be anything. I always remember one thing, even if you know how to make the best papads, go out there and make it into a business. Now, how do you get there? Is don't ever push yourself, because the time you start pushing yourself, people fall backwards. Talk about the USP of the papad. Why is your papad different from the rest? You can't run down anybody else's papad, but you say, see, I try and work very organically. My ingredients are very clean, and I hand roll them myself. So whatever your USP is, bring that out. Automatically, people start absorbing that. And of course, your language skills, how you present. Like if I had to sell a papad, I would say, Dominic, I have this papad, and this is especially these grains have been grown organically. I have employed some few women who are destitute, and I have given them job, and I'm enjoying making it because this comes traditionally from my family background. And we make the best papads at home, and people love it. So and it's quite laborious, and it's not easy to make it at your own home. But I have taken up the job of doing it, and packaging, very clean, neat, hygienic packaging is very important. So automatically, when you see this attractive packaging over there, I'm not saying fancy. There's a difference between attractive and fancy. So when you do a good, clean presentation, you speak well, you speak focused, you speak correctly, and you price it right. Because again, you have to understand how is the market that you're going to. Are you going to top end? Then you price it, and then you get that kind of ingredient. So instead of making it into binding in mustard oil, you make it in olive oil. So automatically you get the price. But if you are going to roll it out for people who are price conscious, you price it that way. Yeah. So it all depends. But your language skill, your behavior is going to make you sell much more than anybody. Like I never went begging to people. I never pushed myself when I was grooming. All I would say, this is my forte. So in fact, one woman asked me, what do you think about other grooming, other people who groom, who are life coaches? I said, I really don't know what they do. This is what I do, and this is what I'm good at. So, I mean, if you like it, and I work focus. So my focus worked a lot, because I work on a one-to-one basis, because I feel grooming is something which you can only do individual and not in a mass, unless you're just teaching like fine dining, fork, knife. But I go beyond that. I'm a life coach. So coming back to Dominic, I think my focus worked very well. I was very clear, good ingredients, good, decent packaging, priced well, and obviously, if I portray something, I mean, if I'm trying to sell something, I have to portray the same for myself. So I think that works the most.
Radhika, what would you advise someone who is in this segment, where money could be a constraint, how to take your idea out there?
Yeah, so instantly, of course, what Chhaya says, that's definitely one big part of everything. I have the experience very coincidentally the last 6 months that I've been working with Google. And we have mentors across the country, and they are running this beautiful program called Internet Sati. So during the pandemic, because people have lost their jobs, shops are shut, establishments are shut, and these are generally laborers who leave families and go out, and then they have to come back home, but they have no work. But the wives now need to make a living. So I'm working with a group of about 18 women from Madhya Pradesh, and I'm a mentor for them. And they come from very, very low income backgrounds. Believe me, Dominic, they all are as intelligent as I or Chhaya are. So they were using WhatsApp to kind of put statuses up, and they were looking at Facebook. But with the Google program, and this has been kind of fueled by Sheroes, which is a very well-known organization that works for welfare for women. And so being a mentor with this association of Google and Sheroes, I have learned a lot. I have realized that it's just the direction. They had in them. I have successfully in my group, so there are 36 of us across the country. So in my group of these number of women, I have seen the change in them in just us connecting on the phone on WhatsApp video once a week. From where they were dying of no food, literally, they are now earning members. We only kind of give them a focus on how you can use WhatsApp to create business. They were already doing a lot of things. So there was this case of this lady who was running a grocery shop, but because of the pandemic, they had to shut the grocery shop. So all I told her was, why don't you start a chai ka dukaan? आप चाय तो घर पे बनाते हो ना? तो आपके पास दुकान है, आप चाय बनाओ. Today she is serving more than 125 people chai every day, and that's how her family is running. So it's really about direction. It's really, of course, money, privilege, background is always a plus, plus, plus. But I come from a very normal background. In fact, from a very middle class background. So for me, I have seen what it is to save money. I know what it is to economize. And so since I'm blessed enough to be now earning myself, but also blessed to be married into a family that is well off, I understand the transition. And so when I work with these women, I know that it's just a matter of the right opportunity. And like Chhaya said, of course, all we taught them was to package it well, write down whatever that you are making. So there are these women who are making chai, there are some women who are making masks. In fact, through my foundation, we are running a campaign called Seva, where people from Pagoda are contributing fabric to us. We are transporting this fabric to underprivileged women in Gujarat and Madhya Pradesh, making masks and bags, because we're running a campaign on no plastic. So, running masks and bags and stuff, and then distributing it through small kids who live in the lower middle class areas. So it's a whole campaign that has come out of it. So in fact, I feel that they were the one who showed me direction in this case. So it really is just a little bit of mentorship, little bit of honest guidance, and women and even men, but now since we're specifically talking about women have entrepreneurs hidden all inside of them. It's just a matter of bringing them out. Yeah.
Okay, so what I've got from y'all is, one is from Chhaya is the focus is to get a mentor. And now we'll switch to getting questions from the audience. And if I have any of my own, I'll throw it to y'all. And we've got one question. So first part is a compliment. I love the way both the ladies are looking and speaking. This is from Anonymous.
Thank you.
Chhaya ma'am, what's the one style tip all women can benefit from? One style tip all women can benefit from. And, Chhaya, I'm sorry, I'm going to add a slight caveat here, is saying that from the business perspective.
I think you should just keep yourself very clean, neat. Look at yourself before you step out of the house. So I'll just share one small incident with you. When I was in class 7, my class teacher was Mrs. Vaz. She was tall, very, very fair, and and there were other teachers who were also very attractive looking. But when she walked in, I would just stare at her, because she used to wear her plait beautifully, well combed, all in place. Nails were always shining bright without any nail polish. She would just put one rose in her hair, and her sari pleats were so well kept. A bag was, and even when she would come in, she would leave a bag in a particular position, never crooked, never just dump it somewhere. So one day I asked her, I said, Mrs. Vaz, I was always a little more inquisitive kid. I asked her, Mrs. Vaz, I just keep staring at you. What is it that you do? But I'm wearing a 15 rupee sari. So the trick was she would starch it and iron it and wear the 15 rupee sari, and that took my breath away. So I think you should never ever think that you don't have it, but whatever you have, work on it. I'll share one more small incident with you. While I was speaking on Akashvani, they asked me as a grooming consultant. So a few of my friends told me, you're going to Akashvani, how can you relate to people who are in villages? I said, why? They also need guidance. So I still went there, though I'm a luxury consultant. I think you can reach out to anyone on this world, anyone on this earth. So while I was talking on the radio, one of the ladies, Maharashtrian ladies, came and asked me, tomorrow is Bhai Beach, or next week is Bhai Beach, and I want to invite my brother, and I live in a hut and I don't have any money. I said, what you do? Take a big banana leaf, wash it, oil it, make it shiny, put a lot of your cow dung, clean it up, put essence, incense sticks, and make sure that you wash and clean the hut beautifully. And whatever you make, garnish with your kopra, kothmir. I spoke her language. And I said, even your vessels and lota that you use, shine it bright. So everything has to look bright, shiny, clean, neat, and put some garnishing on whatever you're giving. So after 2 weeks, she comes back on the radio and she's saying, my brother gave me 5 rupees because he just freaked out on the way I presented the whole thing to him. So it's all about the way you carry yourself. So if you want to reach out to the world, make sure that nobody can ever find a flaw in the way you carry yourself, like one thread sticking out or an unpolished bag, purse, whatever you're carrying. It really doesn't matter. Even if your nails have to be sparkling clean, you just need to take a old used toothbrush and clean it. So it's there's never there should never be a doubt that, oh, I don't have a manicure tool, so how can I do it? It's up to you. It's the way you carry yourself, and especially the shoes. So I'll share one more incident quickly. Before I met my husband, my parents are looking for a boy. So obviously this guy comes along, and every time I would say no to a guy, my father would see my foot. So it means it's a no. I'll start shaking it. And this guy was very handsome. He walked in and I said, no. So my father just pulled me in and took me in the other room. Now what? I said, his nails were black and dirty and I can't stand people like that. So, it's all about the presentation. And he was a very wealthy guy, well turned out and everything, but that one nail just put me off him. So I think whatever you do it focused, do it clean, and present yourself well. Even if you're wearing a 5 rupee shirt, make sure it is steamed iron or whatever the way you do it.
Okay, so there are two questions I'm going to club for Radhika. Miss Radhika, how did you triumph against cancer and continue building your business and mountaineering all at the same time? I'm also going to club another question that Kruti Soni has put up. Both the beautiful entrepreneurs are making some wonderful points. My question is to Radhika, how to get out of the day-to-day rut and work on a business idea? Can't seem to find that time, but still would love to develop my business idea. So I think mainly what she's asking is, how do you manage time? How do you balance time despite doing all these things? And both the questions are to you on time management and focus, I guess. Radhika, over to you.
The first question, very quickly, how did I battle cancer and how I took to mountaineering? Well, like I just said earlier, that I found the first time that I had cancer, I went through the natural, the allopathic way, and then did a bit of radiation. And the second time, I completely changed 180-degree reverse into naturopathy. I found a fantastic doctor. He passed away sadly. Now I'm consulting with his son now. And he was the one who detected cancer. I completely got out of it with very traditional naturopathic way. Difficult for most women. That's the reason why we don't use such treatments, I guess. And then I went to Himalayas for recuperation, and then I fell in Himalayas, and then I just made it a task to travel to the Himalayas every year. So very quickly, that was how I managed it. And when you love something, you find a way, whether it's a mountain, whether it's a human being or anything else. Second, about the second question, how to get out of the daily rut? It's not a rut if you don't want it to be. So that's what I do. For me, it's difficult many times right now because of the COVID situation. I myself many times go through this anxiety, and even though I meditate every day, I go through these pangs of anxiety. But I calm down, take it slow, because even now when I had to reach here, I knew I had to cut time because I had something else to come into, which suddenly came up because of a death in one of the colleagues. And then I had to go home, change and come. But then I took it easy, and my kids like, Mom, just take it easy. And so you develop people around you with your attitude that when you forget that you have to take it easy, they remind you that you have to take it easy. So by panicking, nothing works out. So I just take each day as it comes, and that's been my mantra for so many years now. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, Krutika, in case she's not answered it, we could allow you to unmute and ask a question. Jervis, there's Kajal Veera who would like to ask a question. If you could unmute her. Kajal, if you're unmuted, you would have to unmute on your own device, but he's given you permission to do that.
Okay, so I wanted a question for both of them, and I wanted to ask Ms. Radhika first, that if you go to the Himalayas, what is it that is so different which calls you every year? What is the calling, inside calling, which takes you there?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Every year,
every year you go. Okay.
she's saying you go to the Himalayas every year. What draws you to the Himalayas?
What draws me? Oh my God, you have to go there, Kajal. And I'm sure it'll draw you too. And Dominic himself has been to the Himalayas. He was just telling me that he's been biking around like crazy. And so, Dominic, you know exactly what I mean. There's a very different level of energy, Kajal. I just feel that puri dunya ek taraf, Himalaya ek taraf. You know, they say
very
that
seriously.
Yeah,
Okay,
so they say that for Goa also, by the way, but just on a lighter note. But then Himalayas has its own magic. It's got a lot of purity. The spiritual energy is very high, and so if you're tuned to that, you know, you connect to those mountains a lot. So you must take a trip, Kajal, and maybe we'll connect on this topic soon. Yeah, so that's my answer to you.
Thank you.
I can't resist adding to it, Kajal. I went there myself and it's amazing. I stopped clicking photographs also because you look at the scene, you click a photograph, you compare the two. It's incomparable. It's not even 1% of what is there. You just can't you know, it's huge. It's got depth. It's got width. It's something else. I mean, you have to be there to experience it.
Actually, it's like the layers. There is too many layers, and then every
Very
time
true.
you go, it has changed, and then you discover a different dimension. So it's amazing. So it's about you being in tune with your spiritual energy. And when I say spiritual energy, I don't mean religion. I mean spirituality in terms of the consciousness, in terms of nature, air, wind, and all that. And most of all, about yourself, because the Vedas do say, you know, whatever is outside is inside. You know. So Aham Brahmasmi is what you discover when you go to the Himalayas, that you and the universe aren't different from each other. And you get that. So you know that you know, it's just that everybody has their own truth, but ultimately that truth leads to one light. So that's what you discover when you travel alone, when you travel to the Himalayas, or in fact, adding to that, why only the Himalayas? To anything that's nature, that's anything that's connected, deep rooted to nature, whether it's the oceans or whether they are riverfronts or beaches or mountains or rivers or whatever, as long as it's nature, you find the spiritual connection.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And for Miss Chhaya, I have been observing you, your interviews and all. I do want to know, I do know that you have been traveling a lot. And, you know, so I want to know what is it so different which you want to say to us younger generation, that how do we take this forward as a passion? Or, you know, like you said, if it's something in you, show whatever simplicity you have, but enhance it in a way that, you know, people say, wow. So what is that one thing which a commoner becomes stardom? Yeah, I could say that.
So my first and the foremost, and I always stick to it, is the language. Work on the language, whatever you speak. It's very important how you portray yourself, how you communicate with people, and that will really take you places. You know, when you come back, and I mean, a lot of people who travel abroad and they say that, you know, the people are very rude with us. It's also, have you introspected yourself, how you behaved over there? If you learn to respect that culture, speak the language that they expect you to do it, you would, they would accept you. Fortunately, till now, I've never had a problem. So I'll share one incident with you. Everyone, about 3 years ago, of course, Savvy carried a beautiful article on that. So the ex-president of France, Mr. François Hollande's wife, wanted to come to India on some project. And she wrote a letter that, you know, I mean, the whole letter came through my husband's business associate in France who was friendly with him. And I just happened to read that letter. I said, if she is coming to India, why not I host a lunch for her? My husband mocked at me and said, are you crazy? You know, she's the first wife of France and you want to host a lunch. I said, why not? Let me try. And I wrote a letter to her. And I wrote a letter to her in December 23rd. I never got a reply. And my husband said, see, I told you. 4th of Jan, I get a reply back. Mrs. Valeria Villa, it would be a pleasure to join you for your lunch. I told my husband, look at this. Because this lady had done a recce on me and loved the language that I wrote to her. And see, she realized it was worth her while to have lunch with me. And that's when she came down to Mumbai and I had hosted a lunch for her. So language plays a huge role. And people are more than happy. I still remember I was in Austria in, you know, in a museum, in a palace. And when you have a tour, like a small tour which goes along with a guide. So there was a gentleman from India who told the guide, "Why don't you come here and speak loudly?" This is not the way you command people. She is not working for you, nor is she a subservient. You could have just requested, "Can I request you? I cannot hear you. Is there any way where I can come closer to you, or you can stand in the middle of the room and, answer our questions?" But he commanded her. So obviously she was very rude to him. And then you take back that home. So it's very important, first and the foremost, hone your language, work on your language, speak well, communicate well, be warm to people. I'm not saying you need to be friendly or loving, but be warm to people, and that will really, really take you a long way. That's how I've been able to uh, enroll myself in a legendary school of cooking in Amalfi Coast. They're very, very snobbish about who comes in, enrolls themselves. But it's the language which took me there. I'll be honest with you. So that's
Yes,
one
So,
thing.
so Kajal Veera, thank you for your question. And do you have any more? I'm moving to the close actually due to time constraints.
no, thank you so much. Thank you, both of you. You all have been really amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome,
Thank you for
Kajal.
being here.
Welcome.
Okay, so as a closing, I'm putting this forward to you, which has come as a question. What would the Radhika of today, what would the Chhaya of today advise the Radhika or the Chhaya who is 24 years old? That means your advice to yourself if it was 24, when you were 24. So I'm taking you all back about 2 or 3 years, maybe.
I love it. Dominic, you have a way with words. Wow.
I have a daughter who's 25, so it'll be very easy for me to say
Ouch,
what
you're serious?
Yes, my oldest daughter is 25, my second one is 21, my son is 18. I told you I got married early and children early. That was
No.
And
In
your
short, her
children both
husband has
faster than
kept her
you.
well. Her husband's kept her well.
that too, that too, that too. So the thing is that for a 24-year-old young Radhika, if I had to still do it all over again, I would just do the same thing. I've been very happy doing what I've done, and I would just advise you to become first and foremost confident about yourself. It's very important in this world, especially that you might have a lot of ideas and a lot of intellectual, kind of harnessing, but you have to be confident. You have to wear that confidence with lots and lots of things. Also, because my experience has brought me where I am. If the experiences for each person is very different, but in today's world, if you stand to your commitment, that was always the case, but even now more than, because now we meet more people who will tell you something but will never do it, right? I will be there, oh, but I'm never going to be there, but I don't know why I said it. And we meet 90% such people. So in today's times, it's now opening up. In fact, COVID-19 has changed a lot of perspectives, a lot of human emotions, a lot of our intellectual capacity as well. So two things that I would say is be very confident, because you will be confident when you're clear. So be very confident about yourself. And second, mean what you say. Be committed to whatever that you say. And believe me, it'll help you out. That would be my two advice.
Thank you.
And for me, I
Chhaya?
think, yeah. So the thing is that today's kids are very blessed with travels and technology. I wish I had that time. I would have been probably in a bigger space, but I'm not regretting anything, because with none of that, I've been able to achieve what my heart felt. Okay. Maybe not up to the world's expectation, but to my expectation. I'm very happy with, and I'm still learning. And the very factors that I'm still learning, like right now, during a lockdown, instead of talking about how people have misbehaved or whatever, I'm learning French, I'm learning Kathak, I'm learning Bollywood dancing, I'm doing a lot of things, and I'm blessed that I've been able to enjoy the technology today, and with far lot more experience in my life. So I've understood it better, I play it better, and I think I'm ready to work all over again. 9 to 5 job also I'm ready to do it. So
Okay, I'm going to push you all both for one more question, which popped up in my mind some time back, and I don't know why I didn't ask it. See, considering your background, you all both did not have to work. I know the background, so I'm very confident. You didn't have to work, as in you didn't have to put food on the table. You don't have to pay the EMI probably. We've got a lot of people I know personally where, the male is working and they don't like their women to work because they feel it's an insult to them that, I have got to send my wife to work. Sometimes the wife may not want to work. Sometimes the wife may want to work, but the family is stopping them. So what is the advice you'd give to these people who either are not being allowed to work or would like to work, but feel it's an insult to the husband or the husband feels an insult to them? What would you say to these women?
But I don't think that exists anymore
No,
anywhere.
Chhaya, it does exist. In fact, I
Yeah,
see
yeah,
it.
largely. I mean, what I meant was
Yeah.
largely. But of course, if you want to work, if you prove your skill, and if you can actually prove to the family that I can balance my work at home and out, and there's nothing wrong because I have it in me and it's bursting. It depends on how well you
Communicate.
communicate with your in-laws and with your husband. Like with I told you about my father. At that time, my father said you cannot work, but I communicated, no, one's Ayurvedic product is good. I'm enhancing our traditional way of looking good, and I'm working with the women. My father couldn't say no to me. I'm talking about that age. So, I mean, I think the women today can do whatever they want to, as far as you communicate and you stick to whatever you've said. It's like, if you can balance, it's the main worry for a man or a back at home is that whether she'll be able to manage the home and the work. And what if we lose out, if the kids are not attended to? So that's a big worry. But if you can prove that everything can be balanced, I don't think there should be an issue, personally.
Great. Radhika?
For me, oh, that's a little, I personally believe that women must work. Because I started working even though I came from a family that had all the wealth. But I was not, what I wanted to buy didn't really sit well with my in-laws, let me put it that way. So they never understood why it was important for me to wear a certain dress or, So I actually started working for petty fetishes that I had. And those petty fetishes, and since Chhaya is in fashion and she knows what it means to wear a particular watch and the kind of confidence that it gives you, even though I came from a very, very low middle class background, somehow it was imbibed in me. I had a taste for finer things. So it was actually materialistic instinct that got me to work, because those were not the kind of expenditure that my family believed in. And so I told them that fine, fair enough. I will, at least I can get the opportunity to work. And thankfully, if I managed everything well, I did get the opportunity. And what started off as probably indulgences here and there led me to understand the value of not just money, but the importance of creating wealth in terms of not just materialistic or property, but also in terms of communication, legacies, and principles and ethics. So if I had not started working for maybe a random watch or a bag, I would never be here. So those things at that point in time paved my path to here at this point in time, where I can look at things and be grateful that at least I had that craving and that I could create that opportunity and I could manage the permission from my family. So I worked for petty things, but I'm so proud of it. And I love my petty things even now, just for letting you know. But that's how I started working. I feel, if your question is that, I feel every woman should work. Today, I could take up naturopathy as a treatment for cancer only because I was financially independent. My family would never agree. They were completely against it. Obviously, because they loved me and they didn't want to lose me, right? But I took the chance, and I took the chance. I went to the Himalayas. I was supposed to be there for 15 days. I ended up for 4.5 months only because I was independent. And when you become financially independent, you also become a little more independent as a human being. Then the gender bias kind of goes away, because then suddenly you're able to afford the same thing that your spouse is able to afford. So, but even today, having said that, I do feel that there's a very patriarchal mode, in which people look at you. So if I were to say, for example, buy something expensive, it is a given that my husband is giving it. So So it is true. I face it all the time, and it's okay. I'm absolutely okay, being under the shadow or being behind, because in reality, that communication within the family is very, very important, according to me. But the patriarchal, because when we started out as wedding designers, also there were people who left because they wouldn't work under a woman. So we've passed through that journey, come till here, and now these are the women like me or Chhaya and millions of others who are inspiring women to become financially independent, like the both of us have been constantly saying, keeping a communication open within the family. And one more thing that I would love to reiterate here is what a woman can do, only a woman can do. You can't expect a man to do a woman's job. But a man's job, a woman can easily do. But a woman's job, I don't think a man can do. So
I'm not going to take you up on that.
The man might be the biggest chef in the world, but then he will never do it free. A woman will cook for free. And she'll not only cook for her family, she'll cook for everybody, or she'll make arrangements that everybody's welfare. And that only a woman can do. So when a woman becomes financially independent, I also tell the same woman that keep yourself grounded, keep yourself modest. It'll make a huge difference. The more humble you are, the better you will go. And financial independence should not bring the impudence into you. So that is where the balance. So balance comes into everything. So very quickly to summarize, women must work and women must be financially independent without having to burn anything, even themselves. Yes.
So thank you, ladies, Radhika and Chhaya, for being on the show. Meaning Chhaya mentioned Andrea twice. So Andrea's my wife. She's the editor of Savvy. And I also go to parties. I used to go to parties pre-COVID and be introduced as Andrea's husband. And I was quite okay with it. I mean, I got used to it. And thank you for being on the show. I also would like to wind up with one observation, which I'm sure our viewers also have had, is neither of you mentioned the packaging. That means as in a holistic way of being. But looking at both of you, not only are you all groomed well, you all are well-spoken, you all have articulate, you've got your thoughts in place. Amazing women. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for inspiring us. God bless. Keep rocking.
Thank you. It was really a pleasure being here, Dominic and Andrea. Thank you for having us over here. I think I wish I'd be able to even help one person out of it. It's fantastic.
Yes, thank you. The feeling is mutual. It is great, meeting Chhaya ma'am on this panel, and thank you, Dominic, and thanks a lot for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you. See you. Bye.
Thank you, audience, and see you guys next week. We'll have Cyrus Brosha next time on the panel. No, it won't be next time. Sorry, he's coming the next week after that. I've got my panels next time.
You need to alert us. We need a few smiles on our face now with all the pandemic going around us and the tragedy.
Oh yeah.
So we need
you would get
we need that. We just need that bit of cheer. All right. Okay. See you. Bye.
Thank you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.